Now let's grab that wheel and start turning both left and right. A corner is a series of connected spaces containing numbered speed limits and turning the same direction. If a connected segment changes direction, it is treated as a separate corner. The speed limit numbers indicate the speed at which tires begin to struggle for grip and scrub off tire points. If a driver enters the space at or above the posted speed limit, he must consult the cornering chart. This is done once per corner or until the car enters a space with a lower speed limit. This car logged a speed of 80 miles per hour and enters the corner on its last move. The posted limit for that space is also 80, so the car is 0 miles per hour over the limit. The 0 row of the cornering chart gives the option to spend a tire point or roll on the chance table, so the driver chooses to scrub off one tire point. In the next game turn, the driver chooses to maintain 80 miles per hour. He already paid the tire point upon entering the corner, so may continue moving without penalty. That is, until he reaches this 60 mile per hour space. Because it is a slower speed, the driver must use the cornering chart again. This time he is 20 miles per hour over the limit. His options are to spend a tire point and risk the chance table, or spend 2 precious tire points. He again spends the tire points. If no points remain, a driver must use the chance table. Corners often have a path called the racing line. This is the optimal route through a corner and has the effect of raising the listed speed limits it passes through by 20 miles per hour, but only for cars traveling along the line. To use the racing line, a car must travel without deviation through all of the line spaces, including any unnumbered spaces outside the corner, and over however many game turns it takes to get there. If a car prematurely leaves the racing line, it must retroactively pay whatever tire points it had avoided by using the line. If this results in a spin, the car spins from the first space it occupied upon leaving the racing line. Whether it's corners or racing lines or grass, when a car enters a space, it must deal with any limits or penalties for that space immediately. Once done, the space no longer affects the car upon leaving it. A car may accelerate inside a corner, but in doing so may only enter spaces of equal or greater speed. When an accelerating car enters a space with a lower speed limit, after adjusting for the racing line, it is immediately subject to an understeer condition. This pushes the car outward as the front tires lose grip under acceleration. In this example, the car begins the game turn by accelerating from 100 miles per hour to 120. The next space entered is a slower 100 mile per hour right-hand corner, costing additional tire points. The car must make at least one lane change to the outside during its move, relative to the first slower space it entered, and may not make any lane changes to the inside for the remainder of the game turn. So the forces are pushing the car outside to the left, relative to the direction of the slower space entered. Thus, for the duration of the game turn, the car may not move to the right, and must make at least one lane change to the left. Everything a car does comes down to the 4 tiny patches of rubber that touch the road. The suspension system helps keep the tires on the ground as the car rolls through the corners. Lose contact, lose control. The car's suspension design reduces tire wear cost by half when entering a space with a speed limit greater than or equal to the design value. The left and right sides of the suspension can have different values, and each side only provides a benefit for a corner in the matching direction. Here the driver has balanced his left suspension to handle corners of 60 miles per hour or faster. Following the racing line raises the limit to 60, which would normally cost 1 tire point, but now only costs 1/2. His right side suspension has a value of 100 plus, so while the next right-hand corner subjects the car to normal tire wear, the faster corner after that is above the 100 plus design and so costs 1/2 tire wear. Now let's get to know a driver's best friend, the tires. Tire wear allows a car to meet or exceed corner speed limits by scrubbing off tire points. There are 4 tire types to choose from, each providing a different number of tire points and handling effects. Soft and hard tires are for dry weather conditions, while intermediate and wet tires are for rain conditions. A team may shod either car with any tire type. Tire formulation is track-specific. Point values for each type are listed on the track map. Hard tires are a stiff compound, so they don't wear out as fast, but as a result provide less grip. Hard tires start with the most wear points but reduce suspension effectiveness by 20 miles per hour. So an 80 plus mile per hour suspension setup would become 100 plus miles per hour as long as the car is shod with hard tires. Soft tires are a softer compound providing a mix of durability and traction. They have fewer wear points than hard tires, but carry no penalties. Intermediate tires have a special tread which increases traction in damp conditions to negate the effects of drizzle weather. However, intermediate tires scrub off points faster in dry conditions. In sunny or cloudy weather, intermediates scrub an additional 1/2 tire point in corners unless taken 20 miles per hour under the limit. Wet tires have more tread, increasing traction in wet conditions to negate the effects of rain weather. However, wet tires scrub off points faster in drizzle and dry conditions. They lose an additional 1 tire point in corners unless taken 20 miles per hour under the limit, or only 1/2 point if 40 under. When wheels lock under braking or the car spins, the tires may become damaged and out of balance from flat spotting. This causes a vibration that reduces grip and makes handling difficult. When a car receives a flat spot result on the spin or deceleration charts, corner speed limits are reduced by 20 miles per hour. In addition, top speed, acceleration, and deceleration designs are reduced by 20 miles per hour effective immediately. The damage can be cleared by pitting and getting new tires. We'll cover pit stops in a later section. When a driver receives a spin result, the car begins to spin from its occupied space along a spin vector, which is the straightest line connecting adjacent spaces. Any remaining movement travels along this line. Inside a corner, the spin vector is toward the outside of the turn. If the spin began with a lane change, the spin vector follows that diagonal path. If the spin carries into a corner, continue the vector as straight as possible. A spin continues until the car slows to 0 miles per hour, even if it takes multiple game turns to stop. If a car spins into an off-track space and is still unable to stop, the car hits the wall and speed immediately drops to 0 miles per hour. The moment 0 miles per hour is reached, the yellow flag is waved. We'll look at the various flags in another section. When the car finally stops, the driver rolls on the spin table to determine the amount of tire damage. If the car stopped by hitting the wall, the driver must also roll on the damage chart. Damaged wings and tires can be replaced by pitting. Spun cars come to rest facing the correct way down the track for convenience. In the game turn after the spun car logged 0 miles per hour, the driver may accelerate again using the standing start table. If the car is unable to continue, it is cleared from the track at the start of the next game turn and retired from the race. If a car enters an occupied space, both cars are involved in a collision. The fallout depends on overtake speed and the damage table. Here, the red car logged a speed of 100 miles per hour, but the cars ahead have closed up both lanes. With nowhere to go, the red car moves forward the 3 spaces open to it. As the next space of movement would enter an occupied space, the red car collides with the yellow car. The red car loses all remaining movement and its speed reduced to match effective immediately. This is independent of deceleration limits because it is from a collision. Both cars now consult the damage table to determine their individual outcomes. The number of spaces the overtaking car had yet to move at the moment of collision is added to a die roll on the damage table. The red car had 2 spaces remaining, so the roll is 1d6 plus 2. The red car rolls a 3. Plus 2 for movement equals 5. The red car's wing is damaged, which makes corners behave as if rated 20 miles per hour slower. The yellow car rolls a 1. Plus 2 for movement equals 3. A stroke of luck and the yellow car gets away without any significant damage. Regardless of the outcome, the driver initiating the collision, unless as the result of a spin or accident, receives a black and white flag for unsporting behavior. A second collision brings out the black flag and a penalty. A third collision brings it out again to disqualify the car. More on flags later. It is the overtaking driver's responsibility to safely navigate the way forward.